All right, that was sports. Time now for our discussion. We still have a lot of stories we will be sharing with you in a short while. But let's come back and talk to the gentleman, Hilary Sigei, Senator Bomet. Thank you so much for coming. Dr. Ikuro Okot, party leader, Third Way Alliance, and of course, Dr. Fred Ogola, a political analyst, and of course, a scholar. Asanteni sana for waiting. I know I've kept you for long, but Senator, I stopped you at a point where you were saying that Azimio did not necessarily achieve what they wanted, but you think there's an element of a success in economic sabotage. And I know you wanted to butt in, but I'll give you first.
Yes, what I was saying, Ken, is that in terms of the general intentions of all this, I call them, by the way, terrorist attacks in the country because of what happened last week, what they had planned to do today. And it didn't succeed for the reasons I told you. One of which, of course, is the fact that they didn't manage to create destruction of property, private or public, like they did last week. That was in itself a failure on their part. And two, which is also most important, is the fact that we didn't lose as many lives as we lost last week. And it's for obvious reasons. The police did their job, and Kenyans came out and say, we are going to protect ourselves because we are a peace-loving country. We are within a constitutional government that prides itself in the tenets of that constitution. Nobody has been denied the right to exercise under Article 37. But we are saying it's got to be peaceful. We didn't experience that peace last week. We experienced that peace today.
Okay.
And that is why we are saying they failed. As to their ability to block some businesses from operating today, they, of course, were also, being proactive not to run the risk of what transpired. But I'm very sure that tomorrow it's going to be business as usual, and Kenya will be back on track.
In fact, they have opened the school. Before I go to Daktari, why do you make this look like it's so intentional, the destruction of property, the loss of life? You make it look as though it's their intention while going for the demonstrations. That's what I get from you.
It was. Last week, it was not about demonstration. There has never been a peaceful demonstration by Raila. How many other demonstrations by the civil society have we experienced in Kenya where it is peaceful, they carry their placards, they submitted their memoranda or their petition to whatever institution that they had? The other day, we had the business community in Nairobi last year, towards December. They went out, they submitted their petition to the Harambee House, that was, I think, the office of the president, and that was it. This other...
So you're saying they're setting out for this evil?
That is what they want, because saying. They want to create chaos in the country to say that the government has failed.
I'm coming to...
Ken, let's be brutally honest.
Yes.
And I'm not going to mince my words. One of the major problems we are dealing in this country is coward leadership. Kenya Kwanza is not courageous enough to say to Raila or to Azimio, you cannot destroy property. You cannot cause violence. Let me take Kenyans back to the post-election violence of 2007, 2008. William Ruto and the former President Uhuru did not rape anyone, did not burn homes, did not destroy property, but they bore the greatest responsibility, legally speaking.
Yes.
So today, if Kenya Kwanza was actually courageous enough and really wanted to implement the constitution of this country, they will hold Raila, Martha Karua, Kioni, Omalwa responsible for the kind of damage that's happened, because they are the organizers. Just the same way William Ruto and Uhuru were held responsible and tried at the International Criminal Court. Now, why do I say this? I say this because we are being treated to politics of deceit over the years, from both sides, from the Azimio, from Kenya Kwanza. Today, there are families that are mourning the death of their children. We don't see the death of the child of Raila Amolo Odinga, Martha Karua, or William Ruto, or Wamalwa, and the rest. Okay? So, citizens are being used as pawns in all this. I have no problem whatsoever with implementation of Article 37 of the Constitution or anybody exercising that article. But I have a problem with the consequences of you exercising that constitutional right and freedom to demonstrate, to picket.
But I think they have spoken to this.
And see, listen, part of the political deceit must also be apportioned to President William Ruto. He lied to Kenyans. He sold hope. Yeah, he sold hope to Kenyans that, when I become president, I will do ABCD. So today, Kenyans are actually demonstrating against those lies. And of course, Raila Amolo Odinga and his team are actually capitalizing on that, even though they are using Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya as an excuse.
Okay.
And for me, the cost of living can never be addressed with chaos.
Let me ask you before I go to
Yes.
Prof. I think they have been very explicit in calling out Raila Odinga and his team for what's going on. And you're saying they don't have the courage. I don't know why you're drawing that line, because they've been explicit.
You see, there have been threats from either side. Oh, we'll arrest you, we'll do this, we'll do that. We want to see some action, okay? For example, why are we not seeing, even if it is 100 people being arraigned in court of law to say, you caused violence? Yeah? I mean, today, we are sitting somewhere with my friends, and we could hear helicopters, surveillance, and drones, and all that kind of thing. Why are we not even picking some faces? Let's draw parallels. When Trump supporters in the United States of America invaded the Capitol, the images were actually brought out, and people were arrested, and people were charged. Why are we not doing that? We are not doing that because of this politics of deceit from both sides.
Okay. Prof.
Yeah, so just to tell my brothers again, and because I'm a villager, we just use a very simple village example. When I was a young boy, and you would annoy your mother, and your mother said, I'll beat you, and you are realizing that dinner is coming close by. You have to pass next to your mother to beat you up so that she can forgive you, then you can have dinner. What am I trying to say? Economic sabotage or economic missile is more painful than a physical missile. My father would tell me, if you joke around, you won't go to school. That will pain me more than a stick. I would go, Daddy, just beat me as much as you want, but let me go to school. So you see this, even in the global economic, macroeconomic environment, for example, you see US gives sanctions against Iran. They don't use military war anymore to throw a missile to Iran. But economic missile is more painful. So I can tell him, the fact that we are having KRA, which has been given a target to collect something in the about 1.2 trillion shillings in this budget, and they have already lost 15 billion in 3 days. I'm sure that is something to know that the target won't be met. Now the question is where the president is going to get the 15 billion from, because now the budget projections are not working. The reality is that day in, day out it goes. And let me tell you what, time, God is not manufacturing more time. If you can use your time, use it now, because God will not give you more time. God won't tell Ruto that because Raila has gone for demonstration for 3 days, we shall add you 3 days in your presidency. His presidency is going as we call it. And according to me, the economic missile is more painful than anything else that you can do to this
But
government.
to what cost?
But Ken,
to what cost?
Ken,
To what cost?
I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the success from their point of view.
Yes.
I am not supporting it.
Yeah.
In fact, I've always even written open letters to the president and telling him, we know what will happen tomorrow. You know, 5 billion will go out tomorrow. Why are you waiting? Yet you want to collect taxes to implement the same policies. You're telling Kenyans you want to build housing. You're telling Kenyans you want to be able to offer for them better jobs. Jobs are being lost every day. And Kenyans are, the economy, we're having more informal economy, meaning that apart from the formal jobs you want to create, people are not going to work tomorrow. Like you tell me the things will be normal? No, it won't be normal.
The schools have been told to reconvene tomorrow.
Ken,
Yeah.
Yes.
So my
the
concern...
danger with Prof's argument, in my honest opinion, is that you are making this country look like it's about Ruto or Raila. It's not about Raila or Ruto, Prof, with all due respect.
Yeah.
When we are sabotaging the economy, the way you're describing it, it's like, okay, this is about Ruto collecting tax. It's not Ruto. It's about the damage that we are causing to Kenyans and to Kenya as a country. And in my honest opinion, that I see the trend in this Azimio. And I go back memory lane, Prof. that every time somebody loses an election, you want to hold the country at ransom. I really have a problem with that. Why is it that, for example, and we must ask this question, why is it that Raila cannot use the leadership in parliament, or Azimio in parliament, to bring motions? For example, Mjungu, let's talk about this. VAT on petroleum was actually increased during what we now call the handshake government or regime or political brotherhood, whatever you want to call it. Okay? Now you're using the same handshake housing levy to criticize this government. Yes, I know this government is not getting its priorities right, but let's not lie to Kenyans. I feel that we are saying to Kenyans that the destiny of this country, like I saw in yesterday's headline, which is for me very disappointing, that rests in the destiny of this country rests on two people.
Doesn't it?
No.
Doesn't
the
it?
destiny of this country rests on the people of Kenya. Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya says that all sovereign authority and power vests in the people of Kenya.
Ken, let me tell Doc one thing. Just a minute. I'll be very brief. Doc, that's being theoretical. The destiny of the country ought to rest in Kenyans, ought to. But it is in these two people, because that's why tomorrow we're having a chaotic country. And Wakili,
Yeah, that's
you
my
have
number.
given a false analogy.
Yes.
When you said that some people are demonstrating and it was peaceful, they were not demonstrating against the president, because the presidency is at stake. So when someone is demonstrating about salary increment, the stakes are different from when someone is demonstrating about the presidency.
But I was
and we
giving-
can't put them on the same
I need to
platform.
interject on that.
And then lastly, on your point, why I'm still telling you that I will still take my view. I'm not saying I'm supporting the economic sabotage, but let me give you a lawyer. In the economic history, there was a time when they talked about $1, one vote, isn't it?
Yes.
Now we move from one person, one vote. $1, one vote meant that if you want to destroy the economy, you'd rather be killed to save the economy, because the economy was more important. Now they have said that human life and dignity is more important, that if someone violates your right, like now, Doc, if you are going to go to work now and you violate somebody, so you can say, I'm going to work to earn 1 billion. Let me go to work. Before you'll be given a chance. But now they say, excuse me, forget about your billions of shillings. You have violated a child's life who is earning 0. You will still be arrested. Okay. So we are.
I like that
want
example.
Let's hear from
chip
you
in
again.
so that I answered two of the concerns that have been raised.
Yes.
One by Dr. Ekuru about the extent of the government's actions on this. I do not think, and I wouldn't call that there is some level of cowardice in the part of the government. It is the desire to comply with the constitutional dictates. Remember, the president has over time said, you know what, this is a government that is ruled by the rule of law. The reason as to why all this, whether you would call them threats or otherwise, they are not threats, but it's the desire to seek a complete compliance with the law. As regards the position, Professor, that you're saying about the economy of this country, it is not, as Doc said, entirely reliant on these two people. It cannot be Raila and Ruto who are running the country by virtue of them being in the office and the decisions they would make. And that is why today, Kenyans of almost all walks of life said, you know what, I am going to defend my territory. That is why the demonstrations were confined to a few places. But then, Ken, I want us to go to the issues in this conversation. The biggest and the most unfortunate thing, and that is why Prof is talking about the government having failed, is because the conversation has been confined only to demos which are not giving us what we desire as Kenyans. There's so much that has been done by this government, Prof, which I know you know, but you don't want to talk about it, which is giving Kenyans the hope. And Doc, by the way, we sold hope, and that is what exactly keeps us going. If I had no hope of waking up tomorrow, I definitely would have no reason to plan for tomorrow. But as long as I have hope that I will wake up tomorrow, I'll go to my office, I'll do this as well as you. That is what keeps us going. Now, the hope that we sold as Kenya Kwanza is the hope that has achieved, by the way, a good number of things. We are not talking about the education sector. We are not talking about the fertilizer subsidy. We are not talking about this financial act that has been suspended and the benefits that comes with it. You've just mentioned about the fuel levy, which of course I agree with you that we are not putting it in context. We are just plucking it out of nowhere and say there's an 8% increase on fuel levy. No one is going beyond the foundation of this levy, and no one is discussing as to what are the other benefits of this act that we need to talk about. That is the biggest problem, and that is where Ken...
Senator,
Are you asking us before? Are you asking us to forget about these other issues and concentrate on the achievements of the government?
Not really that. We are saying
Yes.
if
He will take our time
we
to
are saying
explain. He will
if
explain.
Raila, for example, had a very genuine concern about the cost of living,
Yes.
he would be asking himself some of the things that this government has done.
Okay.
In the next 3 months, I am a farmer, small scale for that matter. I know I'll be harvesting in the next 2 months, bumper harvest,
You know,
which is basis
Senator.
of... No, allow me to finish, though.
Okay.
Allow me to finish. Which is something that we are not having a conversation about. Why? Because we want to create a conversation by these people. No one is talking about this education that has been improved.
You know,
in terms of
you
higher
know,
education
Ken.
loans board,
Okay.
in terms of the CBC program that, both of you are very learned.
You know, Senator.
No,
with
but
that,
it's
I know,
true.
utmost respect.
Yes, but it's true. That's
You
the
know,
position.
let's go back. I mean, Ken, let's reposition this conversation. I want to take Kenyans back to the political promises of 2022. That, in my honest opinion, is what forms the social contract with this government.
The reason why Kenyans are angry.
The reason why Kenyans are angry.
Yeah.
Not all Kenyans are angry, by the way.
No.
Not all of them are angry.
Listen,
Not all of them
Senator,
are angry. And it is
A
because...
survey showed
it is
Kenyans
because...
believe 75% of Kenyans, TIFA survey,
No.
believe
Where
that
are
the
those
country is
statistics
going the
from?
wrong direction. TIFA
No.
survey have
You know, Ken, let me remind the Senator. Senator,
Yes.
I know you're in UDA, and I think,
And I'm very objective, by the way, even when I'm in UDA.
But you're also a Kenyan, eh?
I'm also very
But you're also a
objective.
Kenyan.
Yes.
Listen, the problem and why people are going to the streets today, and I've seen from across the regions, is because they were lied to, and because of that hope that you sold. You said that when we form government, it will be a government of Boda Boda, Mama Mboga, hustler government. You know, if you had the intelligence right, and sometimes I'm proudly using Uber and Bolt for travel in the city. And I have a conversation with these Kawaida people. And they tell me, you know, me, I have a master's degree. I have a degree in this, I have a degree in that. If your hustler government really wanted to sell that hope, you could easily find a Mama Mboga. You know, in fact, there's a lady called Kwamboka. She has a degree from Kenyatta University. She sells chips somewhere. I don't know. She has like a yeah. So if you really even wanted to show Kenyans that this is indeed a government of Mama Mboga.
Prof, whose problem in that is that the person who lied, as you said, is the person who believed the lie. Be honest. Whose problem is that?
I say both.
No, it can't be both.
You see,
you have to pick one.
It has to be both because it has to be both.
You're being a lawyer.
No.
You're being
Ken,
a lawyer.
Ken, let me explain myself.
Okay.
First of all, prosperity and success in any country is about leadership. So the leader that says, I want to take you from point A to point B, okay? And then once he gets into that position, he lies, and that was the genius of chapter 6 of the Kenya Constitution, leadership and integrity. You occupy an office, then show us the respect to the people that you said. Yes, the people of Kenya also must take some level of blame because they don't interrogate these leaders. And for me, I've said it in many other shows, that President William Ruto's presidency, in my view, and I'm sure Senator Sigei will be happy to hear this, is a blessing, but a blessing in disguise.
To Kenyans?
To Kenyans
Okay.
and to the world. Because now we can begin to question that here is a person who told us, I'm a chicken seller. I have sold eggs. But how is it that now you're forgetting the fact that as a chicken seller, you're forgetting those people that are selling chicken today? So we have removed, yes, the fake dynasties of the Kenyatas and the Odingas. And that's why I like President William Ruto's presidency. But now we can begin to interrogate, okay, we have a common man in State House. How is he performing? How is he treating us common people?
Okay.
I want to give you some bit of statistics on what is just said.
Then,
He raised
because
a very important point about this government having been a government of the hustler. And that is where I'm saying people are losing the narrative.
It's a government of millionaires and multi-millionaires.
No, I didn't say
and
that.
Billionaires.
I didn't say
no,
that.
No, I'm saying it.
What we have done, you know, there are so many. I was actually picking the statistics on what you made reference to, the hustler. And as at today, as at 9th of July, just a moment, I wanted to share with you what has been disbursed towards the hustler in what we call the hustler fund alone. I'm not talking about the others. I'm not talking about the reforms in the agriculture sector and all that. Personal loan is that has been disbursed as of 16th of July at 9 a.m. 33 billion Kenya shillings. That which has been repaid, 22 billion Kenya shillings. The customers who are directly...
Just wait, because these things were said by the CS, but you never gave us data to back them, so they could have well been cooked.
No.
He said them. I saw the statement.
You saw the statement.
It was never accompanied by proper data, Senator.
Did you inquire about it? I'll give it to you now.
It's an obligation.
I'll give it to you.
You have a good profile.
I don't want to listen to wrong figures on live television.
And the number of Kenyans, hustlers who are affected by this fund is 20,699,178.
Almost half of the population.
A number of us, probably in this house today, is enjoying.
Can now give me a
but
chance.
you have the right to table your figures.
I will give you those facts and I'll give you support.
They were never sent with a corresponding data to prove them. So for now, I will expand them.
And you know the president, before Prof comes, and you know the president is a PhD holder, meaning actually he's capable of doing research. So he cannot be putting things out there.
We saw them.
That is what I'm saying. I'll give you those.
I will be glad. I will be glad.
So Ken, I'm on record to have gone to court and to stop the Hustler Fund board from taking oath of office. The court has given me those orders. They cannot take oath of office. They cannot discharge their duties. They cannot receive any benefit. Why? The main thing you talk about data. Where is the data coming from? There is no secretariat. There is no board. They are coming from cloud.
Now you see, these are the same people saying the government has not done anything. Where does the CS get them from?
I
would hate to interject.
Just wait the following. I'm going to quote again because of the reason that they have put 10 billion in the current budget to Hustler Fund when there is no board, there is no management, and there is no transparency around it. There are so many questions
Prof,
about
do you actually
data.
believe in the Hustler Fund? Is there...
And there's another thing which is an issue. David D in live television said the government has nothing to do with Hustler Fund. And I went and said, I'm going to go to tell the government they should never ever quote their record as Hustler Fund because they have nothing to do with it. It's a private fund. I'm hearing that the fund comes from KCB, and other banks, and the government is taking credit for money they have not put. Now, if David D said this is a private fund, why should the government put 10 billion in this? And it's a slash fund, according to me. That's it, it's a slash fund. And these are evident in court, so I'm not talking about theories here. Now, let me just talk about a little bit about what is important here. I want to tell you, my brother, the presidency is not an asset. Presidency is a liability. It's like a car. When you live with a car in the yard, it depreciates instantly. So you guys that won an election with 5.1%, the percentages have gone lower. You are deceiving yourself. For me, I want to tell the president, the ego, iyo kiburi mukonayo. Listen to Kenyans, my brother. Listen to them. In fact, Ken, I don't want to sit here to discuss problems in this government. For me, I want to propose a solution.
Challenges. You mean?
I want to propose a solution. Yes.
You mean challenges? You're not giving them space to implement.
For me, what I want is I want to ask the president, deliver the promises you made to Kenyans.
That's true.
You have made Raila more relevant because he's discovered there's a loophole. You're not delivering. Because I said to win an election, to be sworn in is winning a legal license. Social license is that people must eat. Winning an election is not an end in itself. Winning an election, in fact, Doc, even you want to become president. Let me tell you, winning an election will stop being an end in itself. If we are in UK, This guy, we could have been having 2 governments already.
Yes.
You come in, you try something that does not work, you go home. Why are you staying and people are dying of hunger that we are giving you time? God doesn't give those people time to die. They are dying right now. And in UK, you see what happened between what happened between after Cameron left office. How many prime ministers have we had?
I know.
In Kenya, you do nothing. We could have had Raila Odinga again for 3 months and a failed to Nandamana and Atoka. We want them to come. We want higher tuition
And that is
we
why,
get it
Prof,
right.
I want to disagree with him because
What I want, no, excuse me,
Prof,
Yes.
you being
when
too much
winning
of a
an
purist
election
here.
becomes an end in itself, it is in the MP, it goes to the senators, to the governors, you have won an election. Then you do nothing. Even in my county where I come from, nothing is happening, but somebody has won an election, he is a governor.
Now,
Winning an
Ken,
election
allow
should
me
not
to
be an end
allow
in
me
itself.
to
Okay.
And again to finish,
Allow me to
Okay,
finish.
let's give him
finish,
30,
let me
then he
finish.
intervenes, yes.
You know, you had a lot of time and I was quiet. I would like to request Kenya Kwanza government. We have always had people being told in opposition, accept you lost and move on.
Yes.
I also want them to accept they won the election and move on. By doing what?
Delivery.
Stop campaigning, deliver to the people to your mandate, because as you continue looking at Raila is defining your agenda, 2027 is coming very close. Remember, soon you're going to do a fifth of your presidency. And Kenyans will be looking at you in the eye and telling you guys, you are a liar. And you know, William Ruto did something fantastic. I don't call it a blessing in disguise. This is a blessing, there's no disguising. William Ruto brought at the epicenter of presidency
Now your
economic
turn is done.
discussion. Economic discussion whereby, how is the economy doing? How will you improve people's lives? He brought that discussion.
Yes.
Now that discussion is eating up because now we are now
There was never any
scorecarding
plan,
him.
Prof.
We are
That's what it means
we are
awards.
scorecarding him
Now,
to see whether he's delivering.
Okay.
Thank you,
Finally,
Ken.
Senator.
Finally, Prof.
Yes.
You see, I've read your book, Prof.
Yes,
And you have been to an election.
yes.
And you lost and you accepted and you've moved on.
yeah.
I wouldn't have expected you to give us the theory that you did, particularly with regards to experimenting on Kenyans. We can't experiment on Kenyans. We cannot say, let's put William Ruto to the State House for 3 months. If he fails, there are things which you cannot do. Right now, you cannot.
I thought he was just referring to the UK.
I didn't say
Instead of
that.
just giving
I'm
an
I
just
said
saying,
example of
once
the
you
UK.
you
But
fail,
it's-
you should go home.
Nobody has failed.
But how do
The
we judge him to
president
have
is
failed?
He has,
barely
he has.
6,
When
7,
I put the
8
Bible
months
down,
into
nikiweka
office.
Biblia chini. That's what they say.
But that's not the measure of failure.
Even giving birth, Prof. I mean, sometimes you've got to be very
no,
frank
you
and
know,
honest.
Senator, let's be fair. I think what Prof is saying is,
No, but-
and maybe
I
this is-
haven't
But Prof can
prosecuted
speak
my
to
point.
himself,
You will.
Yes,
But
I haven't.
Dr. Prof
Let
can
me
speak to
clarify.
himself.
Let me clarify.
No.
There is what called 100 days planning the plan,
Yes.
isn't it? Have you delivered it? No.
We have.
So what I'm trying to say, the figures you're giving us about, I don't know, Mbolea, what, they have nothing to do with your plan.
Now you see that is where
Did
I
you
need
tell
the
us you're
smoke.
going to pass a
Now,
finance?
Ken, I must stop Prof here.
No, Prof,
I must stop
can
because
Senator
I mean
speak?
you're giving context to what I wanted to say. You can't tell us that a government has failed within 8 months of its being in office.
Why not?
Wait,
Based
Prof,
on your
you will get your
promises,
time,
Senator.
and the
100
promises
days,
are
how
not.
many days
You,
have we-
you,
Can
you're
we
not going
let
to change.
Senator-
You're not
Okay,
going
yeah.
to change the cost of living in a day. It's not like you're getting into a shop and buy it and say it's come down from 10 shillings to 8. It's a process. And what Prof is just mentioned about the fertilizer program. I mean, when you go to the farm, you don't plant today, you harvest tomorrow, and that is a fact that we all know.
8 months is how many
It
seasons?
takes-
You're a farmer.
I am a farmer.
Yeah.
8
How
months,
many-
you know.
how many seasons?
I mean, 8 months is one
Let's
and
say
a half
many.
seasons. One
Yes,
and a half
one and a
seasons.
half.
Senator, we're talking 1 year, 1 year.
Luckily enough for us, we've had rains this time around. And I've told you in 3 months we're going to have a very good harvest across the board. Doc, don't intervene. Don't intervene. Because I wanted to say that we cannot experiment on Kenyans. And so the issues about Hustler Fund, he's talked about the court. I've talked about the what do you call? I've talked about the amount that has gone out to the beneficiaries. None. He's not gone out to get a hold of a border person who has directly benefited from this fund. He's not gone out to get a hold of the Mama Mboga who directly benefits from this fund. If we are going to be talking about the way Prof was saying, we cannot go that way and still say we need to go back to the ballot.
Ken, let me
The
talk
issue
about the
is we go to
process.
the
No, we
ballot.
need to go
Let
to
me
that.
just
One
answer him about
win,
the process.
one
He's
lose.
mentioned.
Dr.
Prof,
Be graceful.
he's
Prof,
mentioned-
let's give him.
He mentioned
Let's
about the
finish this.
process.
Yes.
Let me tell you what. If you tell me as my father,
Yes.
we are going to Machakos, isn't it? Then I should wait for you to arrive in Machakos in 10 hours, isn't it? Then I discovered we are now driving towards Naivasha. We have passed the escarpment. I still wait for you that we are going to Machakos. I have to call you out.
But that is not what
Seriously, so let me tell you,
exactly
let me give you evidence.
That's not.
The appointment of the cabinets, isn't it? Every decision Kenya Kwanza makes is the opposite to their manifesto. And that's why
What
we
do
are
you
not
mean,
going to
the
wait.
opposite?
No, it's opposite.
The appointment
Because
of-
cost
the
of living
appointment
was
of-
supposed to go down
Prof,
to what,
can I-
according
can
to their
I-
manifesto.
can I
It
weigh
is
in?
finance bill makes
think-
it impossible.
May I weigh in?
Let's
Well,
tell you
Ken,
way. Yes.
You know, Senator, you know, as a fellow colleague in the legal profession,
Yes.
we need to be very truthful when we are talking. You see, for me right now, I see Kenya as our client. And we must represent them to the best of our ability. First of all, you know, Senator, it is shameful that in the 21st century, we are dangling the idea of food security politically. That we are using food security, fertilizers, as an excuse that, oh, this is the success of government. I think we should stop that kind of conversation. We shouldn't be saying food. I mean, because we are bringing in the element of master and slave mentality in the governance of our country. Secondly, Senator, did you know, for example, by this statistically, Ken, I could be wrong, maybe you need to correct me. You know, President William Ruto is probably the longest serving politician, elected politician in the country today, as we speak. In fact, the only other person,
What are you trying to say?
active. The only other person, by the way, could be Wetangula, not Raila. No, Ruto has served as a politician, politically. Active politically.
From 1997, he's never left.
No, 1992.
He's never left.
He's never left.
Yeah.
And he's been in government-held position. So when he comes, and this is why I agree with Prof, in terms of process, when he comes and says, I have the plan, I know how to fix this country, this is not a newcomer in politics and in the governance of this country.
But remember, he's never been president of Kenya.
So what?
He
has deputized this country for 10 years. He's been a
He's
minister.
only been out of the government, I
Yeah.
think, for 10 years. Is it? From
More.
when Kibaki, no, it's just 10. When Kibaki came in, and Uhuru Kenyatta lost,
Yeah.
and then 1997, 2007,
You
right?
know,
10 years.
let me say
bottom
this.
line is,
Senator,
this is the
let me
first time
justify.
William Ruto is in state of the
So let me
President of the
justify.
Republic of Kenya.
No.
He's the person who is driving the wheel.
No.
He's the
But
one
do
who
you-
is
do
owning
you
the
agree that
plan.
he's
He
been
is
there
the
for
one. He's been
31 years?
YK92.
Yes,
With
31 years.
YK92, he was
Yes.
barely a youth winger then in the Kanu government.
Was an influencer.
He is not the person who will drive the agenda of the government of the
Senator,
day. And
what
that
is
is why.
your point? So
and
that
that
we
is-
understand.
My
What
point
is your
is this.
point
My
in
point
this?
is this.
Yes.
Fixing the problems of this country should not be excused, especially from the standpoint of someone like William Ruto, because he knows government inside out, either as a surrogate of the regime. In fact, he has not only served, the only government he has never served in is the Jomo Kenyatta one. But he's been in all government, Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, and even deputized for 10 years. So he must know the problem. For example, let's talk about the Finance Act. I don't want to talk about it in detail. I know people have discussed it.
And we're in court on it tomorrow morning.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The Finance Act is already a law. It's already been stayed, okay, by the courts. If Ruto was actually, or KK government was actually fair to Kenyans, why not move a motion to amend? After all, he has the parliament, both the National
numbers.
Assembly, he has the numbers, he has the Senate. Why not amend it and remove some of those very contentious clauses or sections, and we move forward as a country?
You're asking the executive to do the impossible that should have been done in Parliament.
I wanted actually to
Yeah, but you
say,
see,
I wanted to-
the reason they do
I
not
wanted
do
to
it in
say two
Parliament
things.
because they are playing politics with Kenyans' lives. For example, by the time the president is signing that bill into law, he knew that there was a proposal to increase his own salary and that of parliamentarians like Senator
No,
Sigei here.
we rejected
Which he
that.
vetoed
We
in a
rejected
public
that.
forum.
But it is the law.
We rejected
I'm
that.
coming.
That
Let
is number
him
one.
prosecute.
And two,
Let
as
him
a matter
prosecute,
of-
then we come to
Senator,
you. Yes.
it is the law right now. And what you could
Suspended.
actually... Yeah, but you can still move an amendment. You can still move an amendment to that law. And actually, if I was a good, if I had good counsel, move an amendment in Parliament, present that in court and say, you know what?
Yeah.
A
Is it
mistake,
possible
a
to
mistake-
touch that
yes,
document?
it is.
The
Right
most
now.
unfortunate
It is.
thing, the most
It is.
unfortunate thing.
Parliament has not stopped
legally,
working.
Legally.
Ken,
Yes.
the most unfortunate thing for me, Doc, about this is, as I've told you, we're in court tomorrow in the morning. We filed a 5-2B on it. I'll be very much restricted to have a conversation on it. However, that bill
Wakili,
went
the case
through,
has not started. You can comment on it.
That
It's
bill.
not
We were in the High Court. We
that was just
now
preliminary.
we filed.
The hearing has not begun. You
But
just
starting
played
at-
safe.
the three
You're
judges
playing
have
safe.
just
It's starting at 8:30 tomorrow in the morning,
safe.
and
You're playing
I'm
safe.
an advocate for one of the parties.
Ken, me, I'm not playing
So,
safe.
No, let him
Doc,
finish, then we come to you.
Yes, I wanted to just say that, you see, the bill, remember, went through various stages before it was voted to in Parliament. And among the things that happened, which we don't tell Kenyans, especially when we have a conversation about this bill, is the fact that the entire public participation, which was cutting across, had concerns and petitions which were factored in the bill. There were several amendments that were done into that bill when it was in Parliament. What was finally passed into law is what parties.
I host shows here every day, and parties will disagree, including him. Will disagree
But of
that
course,
what
because
they presented was never taken into account.
Senator, on a very light note,
I'm coming to
there's
you.
there's a friend of mine called Chris Hotel. He's asking me to ask Senator, when will you put down the Bible? Is it not too heavy?
Tell Chris that we are dealing with the interest of Kenya. We are dealing with
Yes,
it.
Prof.
Senator, let me, and Doc, let me tell you the foundation of the problem of Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
And I go again refer to the politician who is William Ruto. With a long history, he was a minister in education, isn't it?
Yes.
He has held very many high government positions.
Agriculture.
Can you tell me one thing that he did in any of those ministries that you can say there is a leader? Like, for example, talk about Michuki.
Yeah.
Michuki belted Kenyans,
Yes.
and that's on record.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Tell me that one thing William Ruto delivered that you can say, that guy
Sige
can
is
lead
here
Kenya.
to answer that
Yeah, and he should tell us. So
Yeah.
that is the question I'm asking.
Yes.
We elected Ruto on conjectures and hypotheses of bottoms up, which has never worked anywhere, will not work in Kenya, and is the reason why we're having a problem. They read a budget called Bottoms Up Economic Transformation Agenda.
Yeah.
That is the main problem Kenya is having. Then let me tell you what. I've heard people saying Ruto's maiden budget, isn't it?
Yes.
I laugh off that thing. Do you know why? It's not his budget.
Yeah.
This is not.
It was
Ruto's
written
budget.
by IMF
this is
and World Bank.
IMF and World Bank.
Yes.
And
Now,
to,
you
no,
see-
no, let me give evidence. Let me give you the evidence. When you listen, I'm an economist. When I listen to C.S. Njuguna making the presentation in Parliament, reading the budget, these are the opening remarks. I take this chance to thank our development partners, and I single out World Bank and IMF for offering policy direction, resources, and structural adjustment. That budget only has those three things, and the so-called budget policy statement. The policy statement direction has been given by IMF and World Bank. So what else are they reading? They're calling their budget. This is not their budget.
Now,
And you know, if you look
Ken.
at the issue of fuel, the 8% that was suggested to Uhuru by IMF, isn't it? When Uhuru tried to put it, not an issue. Now, IMF has passed it now under Ruto. So what I'm trying to say here, it was not their budget. The second thing I have, he said, I have the plan, isn't it? According to me, if his plan is not having Kenya, then there's a problem. Kenya should be his plan, and his plan should be Kenya. So this plan that is hurting Kenya until they're on the street, what is it? Is it a Kenyan plan? And why do we reinvent the wheel and we have Vision 2030, which was an economic model? I heard him saying that I'm following the footsteps of Kibaki. Kibaki came with the Vision 2030, isn't it? Why are you going to bring another thing called the plan? The mistake Uhuru did by not following Vision 2030 and come with something called Agenda 4. That Agenda 4 became an issue because later he said it cannot be implemented. So why are we having all this plan? Then to finish the issue of the bill, the report for the bill was 508 pages after it has been
And I have a question
finalized.
for Senator before he comes in.
That 508 pages was, if you read that thing, even the president was supposed to read it before signing it. Even Parliament was supposed to read that report before passing the bill. Tell me how many parliamentarians read 500 pages,
They
508
never.
pages
But I have a question.
before passing. Then lastly,
we have to give them an opportunity, Prof.
The Hustler Fund has a problem. Let me just show you.
I have a question for you, Senator.
You have these guys have lent out. These are the real data now. These guys have lent out. Was given a report of 33 billion with 15%.
I thought you said
15%.
you don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm just giving you numbers. These are real numbers.
Where do you get the
Where
numbers
do you get these
from?
numbers?
This is the report.
No, first tell us, where do you get the numbers
From the chair of the Hustler Fund. I'll be sit with him on a scorecard show. I don't want to say which station because it's important respect. 15% repayment rate means that out of the 30 billion which was issued initially, only 5 billion came back and 25 billion went on the whole. Where he is getting 22 billion coming back to Treasury, I have no idea.
Okay.
So
I think
the Kenya Kwanza need to be educated on numbers and figures and be consistent.
Yes,
It is the other way around.
Prof,
It is the other way around.
we don't have the figures here, so I don't want to impeach this. I wish we had a show on this, and we'll definitely have a show on the impact on the Hustlers Fund.
I have a question.
Yes,
I have a question.
Yes,
and I want to refer to, I like the Luo language. It's very interesting. So a friend of mine called Rotariki is saying that this government is like Ngech. He's saying Ngech Ginendo.
What is it?
You can only listen when it's being struck. So the people are crying, And to use that analogy of Ngech Ginendo.
It's sleeping
until you waken it up. Now the people are awake because the people are saying, let's look at the Finance Act, for example. You promised us that Mama Mboga, serikali itakuwa yenu. But now when you put in VAT on petroleum, and Mama Mboga is selling Mboga hapo Gikomba, and let me tell you, Mboga does not come from Nairobi, comes from Nyandarua, other parts. Now the cost of living will definitely go up. Who exactly are you, punishing with this Finance Act? That's why the Luo people say, "Get
I need to go to two other things before I let you go. Yes, so
I wanted to answer two questions.
Yeah.
One, of course, by Prof, and I will answer by a statement that Kenyans are not on the streets. Raila is on the streets. It is not Kenyans. That is number one. Number two, he said that there is nothing that we can talk about the person or His Excellency the President that he's done in his term
I
of
asked you to
office.
tell us what he did.
And I have said, I'm answering. Why can't you allow me to answer you, Prof?
No, I'm correcting.
One is,
tell us what he
at
did.
the time, I will not even give you the specifics because these are there. These are the things that you do not want to listen. These are the things that you do not want to agree. And these are the things that you don't want to accept. And I wouldn't convince you anyway to accept it because you have an entitlement to your position. When he was in the Ministry of Education, when he was in the Ministry of Agriculture, those are the two things, rather the two ministries that transformations as at that time were felt. In the Ministry of Higher Education, not education, higher education and agriculture. And that is why when he says he has a plan, for instance...
What did he deliver?
For instance, in the Ministry of Education right now, something that you do not want Kenyans to know. For the first time, this government has employed 54,000 teachers within a year. The first batch of 35,000 are already earning, they are already teaching. But the second batch of 20,000
are waiting.
Allow me.
Sorry to interject. They intend to employ them.
Yes. The advert has gone out there.
Yes, they've not been employed. You know that, Wakili.
No. But I know it's going to happen.
Yes. No. So it's not happening. Let's wait until it happens.
Ken, I have a question, a quick question.
Yes.
And I want to refer to what my friend here, Ferdinand Lukulu, is asking you. Forget about these proposals and promises because now...
No, but those are not proposals, Dog. Those are not proposals.
Senator,
I mean, 35,000 Kenyans have been employed.
Let me ask you a question that's being posed to me here. And they are saying, ask Senator. Yeah? This is from Ferdinand Lukulu. And he's saying, Ruto promised to lower unga price as he puts the Bible down after swearing. Wacha kutuambia 54,000 Senate. I mean,
I've heard your question. Allow me to answer.
So please,
allow me to
let's
answer.
address
Allow me to answer
what is the issue on the table today. There is question of political promises that lured people indeed to actually vote for Kenya Kwanza. I voted for Kenya Kwanza, by the way. You know.
I know you because you are a person.
I was very open about
Yes.
it. I didn't like a continuation of the past. I voted for you guys, but talk about the promises you made to Kenyans. That's what Akina Lukulu here are actually asking.
Allow me then
Don't
to
say
say,
teachers, 54,000 teachers.
No, but it is true. Isn't it a fact, Doc, for us to say 35,000 had never been employed before by any government?
In one go.
In one go.
But I agree with
Isn't
you.
that an
I agree with you,
achievement?
but-
That is one. Two, Ken. Just allow me. Just allow me, because you see, where we miss the point is where Professor just picks up all the very negative things that happened, which is very normal. He's entitled to do it. Doc, the same thing. He just wants to critique without allowing the government to do it. They appreciate that we are 8 months into office, and I wanted to answer him the question on the plan. I have answered one on the 35,000 teachers. Within this same Finance Act, the allocation to the Ministry of Education, because that is what is within the plan, to transform the education. When you do it, you get rid of the poverty level and the poverty bracket in almost every family if you allow people to go to school. The amount, because I'm picking the statistics, 628 billion is allocated to the Ministry of Education. Part of that is to employ now to 20,000 teachers plus 35, which has happened before. Number two, in terms of NEC, he is a professor. He teaches at the university. I don't know whether he still teaches right now. A good number of our teachers the other day were complaining
Once
that...
a teacher, always a teacher. Even
Thank
right
you.
now he's teaching
Yes,
us.
a good number of our teachers were complaining that they worked for the government, they were never paid. That allocation has been provided for. The Higher Education Loans Board, this is where the government has, it's invested how much? 30 billion.
You know, I
which is
agree with you.
50%.
You know, Senator, you're running away
Senator,
from my question.
Yes,
I'm
Senator,
not running away.
Senator,
I'm
I
telling
agree
you,
with you.
guys,
I agree.
guys, we
Senator,
need to talk about
give me a moment.
issues that
I
have
agree
been
with you
done.
entirely.
Yes.
What the government has done, and it doesn't stop at what you have read in terms of allocation. However, the question
Yes.
that he wants answered is based on the promises
That
that
is-
were made.
that
Forget
is-
about what has been done. Based on the promises, what can you do tangible and say, we promise this, Mama Mboga, the government will be, they are here. This is Mama Mboga, this ministry. Those are what he's asking. I think that's what he should answer.
those
Please
are the
answer my
promises
friend
which you
Ferdinand
made.
Lukulu.
I'm answering that guy. It's called
Ferdinand Lukulu, yes.
Lukulu.
Yes.
What of the issues which cannot be picked like a fruit that is ripened? Even if you're going to pick it, it takes time for it to ripen.
He's not going to
And
answer that
therefore-
question.
He will not.
He will not answer that question.
But Ken,
I'm
I have
answering
another issue.
because
I want to give.
I also have
I want to
issues
give
that we're running out of time.
I'm
Senator a
giving
break.
you, remember, one of the other things that we spoke about is creation of employment. The ICT bit, which we normally do not want to hear, especially when you are critiquing the government, has created a lot of opportunities for our youths. The number of trips that the president has made, which has earned us free, I would call free visa entries.
Where?
I mean,
Senegal,
what do you mean?
anyway, we can
Surely.
go
Now
back
that
to
is,
that.
those are the
Senate,
things.
yes.
Those are the things which we promised and have been delivered. Why do you want me?
What is the economic benefit?
Okay, gentlemen, we have a very few minutes.
But I
I'm also
have a
being
question. I
harassed
have an
by my
issue. I
director.
have an issue we need to address, Ken.
Which is?
I want to help the senator. Let's take a break from him commenting on defending the government. I know one of the things that I think for today for me is happening in our country in terms of taking this country forward. Senator, we will not now talk about KK. Is electoral grievances. I wish we had electoral grievances.
Yes.
I wish we really had more time to discuss
Exactly.
about this. Because for me, it's one of the things that has actually keeps on bastardizing every government of the day, including KK. When people do not accept, for example, the outcome of an election, and they keep on bastardizing government and holding the government at ransom. I wish we will come back again.
I wish, and I will call you. You all are very receptive to me when I call. We will discuss that, and it's a huge topic. However, because of the few minutes that I have, I like to handle two issues only. One, what's happening at the border? And I'd like a perspective from the government, what's happening between the borders of Kericho and Kisumu, right?
Okay.
It's very important. Then secondly, I'd also like you to open up by telling us what the government intends to achieve, for example, by punishing the first lady of the country, by withdrawing security, for example, from Mama Ngina. And the security
Very sad.
is her right as the first lady of founding first lady. So those two issues, perhaps then they can weigh
You can
in.
explain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that has not happened. The second question, which you said, explain why the government is punishing, that has not happened.
Withdrawal of security
That has not
of
happened.
the founding first lady.
That has not happened.
But it's out there. We were Emmanuel Toh, Senator. Emmanuel Toh was in Muthaiga.
That is actually where I'll also call you
Clement
Ken
Masombo was in Nyeri.
I will call out Ken and Tim in terms of the fact that we hype something that comes out without establishing the factual position. Have you received a confirmation, for example, from the IG of the police that he is indeed withdrawn the security?
Do we need to, when we are on the ground,
you asked me on this table, you asked me on this table about facts on the
exactly.
fund.
I'll give you my facts. Can I give you my facts?
On that one, yes. I know it has not happened.
So the leaders who are claiming Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua also are claiming their security.
That is different. You were talking about the first.
So let me take you back. Our report.
What about Raila's security?
Yes. He said that's different. But let me go back to the
different
first lady.
To what extent, Ken?
To the extent that I asked about the first lady. So I will ask that after.
So why it's about security? Yes. So why is the security of Mamangina Kenyatta different from the security?
I'm going to add it. I intended to do all that. But tell me, I'm presenting my facts. Unless our reporter lied, who was stationed in Muthaiga for the better part of the morning, Emmanuel Toh, that's a fact. He was stationed, we have videos the whole morning. And the only people who were at the gate, and there was no GSU, were security, men and women, hired from private firms. That is a fact. How is that not a fact?
Matters security, Ken, and I've told you, of the first family or any other state officer who by law is entitled to be provided security is not something that
Ken, I want to help the senator.
And that is why I'm saying it has not been done. It's not.
Senator,
so you're denying it's not been done.
Senator, can I help you? Let me help the senator.
No, he said it's not been done.
No. It's a bigger topic. It's a bigger topic. You know, there is a law called Retirement Benefits Act, and it cites certain personalities. And it says, for you to enjoy the benefits of this law, including, say, security, you must not be actively involved in politics. Okay? And one of the problems, that's why I said this is a coward leadership of KK. They should be able to say, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the rest of the people, you are enjoying retirement benefits. Yeah? By virtue of that law.
But that was done for them, that's what I was saying.
Senator, you see, you guys are not courageous enough to tell these people, you are now holding the country and government at ransom, while at the same time enjoying those benefits by virtue of the law.
And that's the reason why.
And you should be able to...
I will stop you. I will stop you.
Yet they're enjoying the benefits of the legitimate government.
Prof. and Daktari, I'd like to take this story on Mamangina, and then I come back, then we can talk about this, because this will shed light to what we're talking about. So the security detail of former First Lady Mamangina Kenyatta that was withdrawn Tuesday evening is yet to be restored at her Nairobi's Muthaiga and Gatundu homes. By this evening, only guards from the security private firm were at her homes taking patrols. As a former First Lady, she enjoys more than 10 officers from the Elite General Service Unit and at least 10 administrative officers guarding her and her homes in both Nairobi, Mombasa and Gatundu. And as Chris Thairu reports, she reportedly left the country last evening, few hours before the Azimio countrywide demonstrations.
Along Muthaiga Drive in the leafy suburbs of Nairobi is one residence of former First Lady Mamangina Kenyatta. On a normal day, officers from the Elite General Service Unit, GSU, man the entrance. But since Tuesday evening, things have been different. Security guards from a private security company have since taken over after the security detail of the former First Lady was withdrawn. At Gatundu home in Ishaweri, private security guards have also taken charge. On a normal day, the former First Lady will be having at least 12 GSU officers manning her homes in Nairobi, Gatundu and Mombasa, both day and night. She also gets extra AP officers for patrol. Her security had been scaled down 30 to 12 last year. Reports indicate that after the withdrawal of security, she flew out of the country to an unknown destination. On Tuesday, a group of Nairobi traders held a press conference announcing that they would hold a demonstration at Mamangina's home over the alleged activities of his son, the immediate former President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Tunataka kuambia mandugu na marafiki wetu wenye mnatumika kesho kuharibu biashara. Sisi hatuna vita na nyinyi. Tuko na vita na wale watu ambao wanawatuma. Na ndio kesho tutaandamana watu mwingine na mwingine watu 10,000. tuende pale kwa Mama Ngina, tukae hapo nje, kwa sababu hawa watoto wake ndio, mmoja ndio chairman wa Azimio.
The Kenya Kwanza team has been accusing Uhuru, who is allied to Azimio, of funding the demonstrations and civil disobedience. By Wednesday evening, the former First Lady's personal security detail had not been restored. Reports indicate that the Muthaiga and Gatundu OCPDs have been asked to make several trips around the area when making their regular security patrols, both at night and day. The security details of opposition leaders Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua and governors from Nyanza region are also yet to be restored.
We confirm the security cover for our leaders has been withdrawn. Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Stephen Musyoka are entitled to round-the-clock protection by the state, not as a favor, but by provisions of our laws.
That only mission of OSU squad is to assassinate or grievously harm Azimio leaders.
Soon after his swearing in, President William Ruto declared that he would ensure the non-politicization of the police while accusing his predecessor of doing it. Towards the 2022 general election, the security detail of the then Deputy President and now President Ruto was withdrawn from the DP's official residence in Karen, Nairobi, and his Sugoi homes. The experienced officers were replaced with just a few administration officers, AP officers. Chris.
All right, Chris Dairu reporting there, and Senator Sigei says that it was not withdrawn. We are learning, and in fact, if you grab a copy of the Standard, that her Gatundu security guarding her home was actually restored, and the senator says it was never withdrawn. Yes. And we're saying the security was actually restored. Because you took a swipe at that, perhaps you would say something about it. Withdrawal generally of security belonging to the leaders, totally, and it's a constitutional guarantee.
Yeah. First of all, it's unfortunate.
It's actually a legal guarantee, statutory.
Actually, this is unfortunate because this is a founding First Lady. You know, if you look at withdrawing a security of a widow, me, I'm looking at it from a widow. Why do you withdraw security of a widow? Forget about former founding First Lady. I'm looking at a widow with no husband to take care of.
How many widows are in Kenya?
Who don't have security?
I'm saying,
there are so many widows.
He's gone back to the village.
Let's be honest.
He's gone back. Let's be honest.
That's so unfair to the rest of the widows.
We also have
why this is important, isn't that? She's a widow, but has a responsibility, isn't it?
Is she an ordinary widow?
No, she's not.
Yes.
But that's why. But that's why. Actually, it's even worse.
This is where we go wrong. And this is where now we lose on.
No, you can say whatever you want.
I mean,
but the truth is that she's a widow. You can say whatever you want. There's no money, power that can replace a husband for you. She's a widow. That's a fact. You can go to the bank. Those are perceptions. So for me, I'm trying to say the state should be able to protect such like person. Because I'm sure she has no role. She has never been seen on the street. She's never made any comment about the.
She came out last
lesson.
year. Last year, remember?
No,
she came out last year to try and tell Kenyans protecting our own son.
During the presidency of William Ruto, we have not seen an occasion, so that was actually unwarranted for. And I think also, just for the sake of everything, William Ruto had said when he took over that he will not do what was done to him by his predecessor. So withdrawing the security of this is a double speak.
I thought we
concluded that it wasn't done.
That it was not done.
It wasn't done.
And confirmed that she's got her security in
Gatundu, at least.
And
we can confirm that.
I want you, Prof, to
it
be
was
fair.
not done, it was withdrawn, it was restored.
Prof, I want you to be fair to the Kenyan widows.
I'm using
I want you to
there.
be fair to also the rest of us who are entitled to that security.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you come with your security?
Yes, I did.
You are entitled.
I'm entitled to, yes.
Would you complain if you didn't have your security to Standard Group tonight?
Wait.
Would you complain if you didn't have your security to Standard Group tonight?
No, I wouldn't.
Would you make an issue?
I wouldn't. By the way, let me tell you this.
Senator?
Yes, for obvious reasons. One, I don't do the wrong things. I don't look back to say who
as
is looking
as an
at
entitlement.
me. As an entitlement,
VVIP.
definitely.
Yes.
As long as I have good use
Well,
of that
occupies a public
opportunity
office.
given,
Yes.
and I'm putting proper utility of that benefit, I'm entitled to get it.
Okay.
We have been gracefully added 10 minutes by my producer,
Thank you.
Watson. So I want to talk about Sondu as you comment. This flare-up, I mean, it's not the first time we're seeing it, but I don't know, what is the status of this? You would know as a senator.
Yes, one of the things that, of course, I would say is to completely say it's very wrong, especially when we have communities that have been living peacefully together for quite some time, can be, experiencing what we experience in the border between Kericho and Kisumu on Saturday. Fortunately, on that Saturday, that's when we had our parliamentary group. That is the day the cabinet secretary for the chief, that is Professor Kindiki, went down to Sondu to the boundary to calm down. And indeed, he spoke to the communities, the boundary communities. He also gave a commentary after that. And as at now, I am informed that peace has been restored.
Okay.
It was a spontaneous aggression from between the two communities for the reason that there was a suspicion, and also with the threats that have been coming about these demos. People definitely spontaneously reacted, and well, it is one of those things that you would call out. You would not be, as a leader, doing justice to the people that you represent when you don't.
It's settled, but you can have a say on it. Yes.
Senator, let's just be very honest to Kenyans. The problem in Sondu and any other regions is because we have never held politicians accountable, both criminally or otherwise. Okay? I'm sure the Sondu issue is as a result of incitement by some politicians. But government, again, I go back to the cowardice of this government. It's not courageous enough to say, it's not courageous enough to say, you so and so, regardless of your position. They are scared to say, why can't we hold Senators Sigei or Ekuru Okoto Professor accountable? Let's charge him, because it's clear that criminality happened in Sondu. There was incitement, and for me, it also indicts the National Intelligence Service of this country. Surely, wouldn't we have known by now? Because we know NIS is all over. It's in the villages, it's in pubs. All I think they report is, Professor Ogola, dines and wines in some place, or there is some, Sigei sings some as a baby mama somewhere. That doesn't. Not that I'm saying you out, but but I see the focus of the intelligence. The focus of the intelligence in this country.
Yes, they should know.
They should know. They should be about how do we fix problems, criminality.
Daktari,
Yes.
Probably, I don't want to indict them. This is security, and we all need security. And I know what will happen if we didn't have them. They're doing a good job. But if I mention Shakahola, then you will know why they.
Can you imagine Shakahola now? Look,
yes,
exactly.
So I don't want to go there. Yes.
How did Shakahola happen all this time?
Yes.
Operation Indogatuzi, which is the organization I lead, has got network of 47 in all the 47 counties. One of my reporter was able to explain to me the genesis of this thing.
Okay.
And actually it is in the Kiumi report, which was done in 1991. And it states that those communities have historical issues that emerge if every now and then when time comes. So what I want to ask the president and the security is that please go and look at the Kiumi report.
Yes.
And the CS Kindiki did not read it because he mistaken by saying that it was criminals who took advantage and blamed tribal clashes. Then something he said which was very critical. He said that the policemen should treat the situation without bias. When I look at the numbers of people who died, there are people who are hospitalized and got injured, they are tilting more towards the Azimio, if you like, for example, the anti-government communities there. And what we saw from the ground, from the report we had, is that the police were protecting those people who are pro-government to actually go and cause harm to those who are anti-government. And Kindiki mentioned the same word, bias, meaning that there was some group siding with another group, a policeman siding with another group, to even help the other group work. So I want to call on the PS of Molo and Kindiki to respond to this thing with historical issues. And that's why even if you talk about, you ask the question, when we go to Bomas, what are we discussing? A Kiumi report has never been implemented. Kreger report has been ignored. These are the discussions that are bringing us here, so that election cannot be contentious.
Paul, Ken, a good friend of mine is called James Mutua. He's asking me on Twitter to tell the senator
Again.
that he says we don't eat teachers or ICT. Where is the hunger the president?
I think that is
that is where people are becoming very petty when it comes to serious issues like this. I mean, I know we don't eat unga, but a teacher who's been employed will earn a salary. We don't eat teachers.
Actually,
but a teacher having been employed will
Senator,
earn a salary.
Senator, to help you out.
But it tells you how important the promises are
to them.
And that is why.
To help you out, let me also be honest. A government should not feed people directly.
It's true.
We had that conversation earlier.
Create an enabling environment upon which people can feed themselves.
Okay.
Another thing, the last but not the least, I have always asked the government, if you are campaigning, Mijungo, if you want to become president, never tell people lower cost of living. Cost of living economically never goes down. I bought bread at 5 shillings as a young boy. Bread is now 100 and something. What needs to happen is that Kenya was supposed to come with an income program where people can increase money in their pocket. No discussion about unga will ever exist.
Okay.
That's the economic imperative.
Gentlemen, I need to jump that, but I need to play the video of the week. Then I come back. We'll close just 1 point on the bipartisan, and especially if it should come back and what you think is the way forward. And then lastly, I'll give you an opportunity to condemn what's happening, because at the end of the day, this is our country, and we sink together. But first, let's take a look at the video of the week.
Mr. Speaker, history is replete with strong, generous, and powerful kings and monarchs who have been brought down by the power of the people. And Mr. Speaker, today, I want to remind them of a man called Belshazzar, a man who God favored to be king in the book of Daniel. Instead of being grateful that God has honored you among so many millions of citizens to be their leader, he entertained a government that was so divisive, so oppressive, and he did a big party and called all the important men whose fathers and mothers were important people at that time. And the Bible says he made a feast. And he entertained them in that feast, and even went on to commit sacrilege by using the utensils that had been taken from the temple to commit and drink the drink of fornication using the vessels taken from the temple. Mr. Speaker, as they were enjoying, as they were making merry, as the deep state was celebrating, as the system was celebrating, suddenly, and I say suddenly, there is going to be a war in this country. There is going to be a writing on the wall. Mene, Tekel, and Parisi.
Preacher. Daktari.
When I watch that video of Kindiki, I go back to the fundamental question about our country, whether we move forward or not. Political dishonesty is the biggest problem we have in this country. And one of the frailties of our country's governance is actually just dishonest leadership. And we will never move this country forward until we have men and women of honor who will even respect who they are, or will respect the background from which they came from into leadership. And that I'm telling you, the shifting of these goalposts today, we are saying these political promises and all that. And I just want to close by saying this, and I want to quote from my friend Honorable Jerry Owiti. Jerry Owiti is telling me these guys have started campaigns for 2027. We are all aware there is no service delivery directly to the people, but to themselves. And that, for me, is just about the deceit generally about this country. We can benchmark. We can talk about Singapore. We can go to America. We can go all over. But it's about what is it that we are delivering to the people when we promise them we will do this when I get to office.
Okay.
For me, that lying has to stop. And one of the reasons, and I repeat this, Senator, One of the reasons why I like Ruto's presidency is because we can now expose political lying and political liars.
Okay. Senator.
These are closing remarks?
No,
all right, fine.
I just
About,
wanted you to, and bipartisan, at least he should have said.
Okay, fine.
Do you think bipartisan should come back, or we deal with?
I don't believe in that bipartisan thing, because the reason, Ken, is this. I mean, I'll say this as my closing remarks.
Yes.
There are avenues within the Constitution, within the structures of representation that can address those issues. I don't care about these bipartisan things. If you really want to talk about the issues that affect this country, then let's talk about multi-partisan participation.
Done.
Thank you. That clip by Professor Kindiki, you reminded me, was one that was made during the removal of him as the Deputy Speaker. And he was very passionate, of course, preaching on the need for compliance. Fortunately, I was one of the lawyers who were involved in the whole process of the removal of the majority leader, then Kipchumba Murkomen, majority whip, Susan Kihika, and of course, after that, it became Kindiki. The context of that concern, Ken, and you will be a witness, and I'm saying so in direct response to what Dr. Okot here said about the politics of deceit. If you were to be very honest and factually so about the scene of that address to the House that day by Professor Kindiki, it was because the removal had largely been completely done against all known laws and regulations. I remember I had served the then Speaker of the Senate, the current governor, Governor Lusaka, with court orders about the stay and their non-removal, but they still went ahead. So he was very passionate about it. We have not departed from that position, by the way, Doc. We still within the confines of the rule of law, even as you speak right now. About the bipartisan, I sit in that bipartisan representing among the 7 members from our part. I'm one of them. And we were going on very well. We had itemized the issues that are affecting the country. And on top of our list was the complaint that was by our counterparts in Azimio about the IEBC selection panel, which, as he says, we have structures in the constitution and the statutes in this country that would have helped us if we really indeed were keen on resolving them in a manner that is lawful and compliant with the law. We had itemized IEBC selection panel as one of the low-lying issues that we were to deal with. The other issue was about the cost of living. Azimio had brought, we were both in agreement that that was a major issue. The other one was about, of course, the opening of the servers, the raid on the political parties, the democracy of the political parties, and what was the other issue? The other issue was, of course, now the creation of the office of the opposition leader, and among others. We had progressed. The most unfortunate thing is that when you don't lay out your cards in a negotiation, where you're hiding some, you don't progress. The reason why we then didn't progress, and we are still ready. The president said the other day, on our part we have said that we are ready. We actually have written to our co-chair, Senior Counsel Amolo, about our readiness to resume the talks. It was the way to go, because that would have given us a sober opportunity to deal with it. And lastly, as I close, I just wanted to remind my colleague professor here that a woman doesn't conceive tonight. Tomorrow the pregnancy is at the period, the gestation period. The 3rd day she gives birth. The 4th day, it doesn't happen that way. It takes time. It takes time.
Finally, Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much for the analogy of woman. I'm sure if there's a child who was conceived the day Ruto was sworn in, the child is at least 1 month old. So, story for another day. Now, just to talk about that clip, you see, when I went to do politics, someone warned me that, Professor, if you go to politics, you'll speak very differently. Then I had a campaign team that was helping me campaign. So I always told them I'll never lie.
But hey, Prof, you ran for what?
Yes, I was looking for MP of Kenya. So my campaign told me that you have to lie a little bit. And I continue saying, I cannot lie. Until one day when I made a lie, they told me, now you are ready. So if you tell me politics is about about honesty, Senator, that's a total lie. You have to make some lies, at least to look even enjoyable, even for your narrative to look enjoyable.
And he said that in his book, by the way.
And I agree.
You admitted.
I've read your book, and he said that in his book.
I lied about
I get an autographed copy.
The day I lied about my opponent, I received more accolades from my audience
Than all the truth you told.
truth I told. So sorry for another day. That's why I left that. Now coming to the issue, so I respect Kindiki, he's a professor, and today Yusuf Sifuna said, when he says, now these are English, so we're saying a professor should engage people on more academic discussion. So if you throw things, these are English, these are theories, out of the way. Now let me just come to
we have run out of time.
Bipartisan. We have the same position. With Doc here. Even in fact, we did a press conference before bipartisan began, and we said Kenya is a multi-party democracy. It's not about parties, political parties. It is about private sector. Like today's life, businesses were not open for private businesses, public. We also have civil society.
Should go beyond politicians.
We have religious communities. We need to have this partisan discussion in Bomas to look at the deep-sitting issues, so that winning an election, after you win, no one can be going to the sea saying, I want to talk to you. You want to talk to me after I win the election.
But also after losing an election, you don't need to insist. You want to talk
That you want
have a
to-
conversation with the winner.
We are out of time.
So what I'm trying to say is we need to move away from brotherhood handshake to a nationhood handshake. So that we can have the whole nation shaking hands, not two people shaking hands in darkness.
But Prof, what haven't we discussed about this country's problems? There are so many reports, commission reports, that have made findings.
We have run out of time.
We need part two.
We need part
conversation.
two. Because you are on camera, we are doing something called saving our country because of where we are sliding. And we are not so far. It's not a mirage where we are headed. This country can sink to levels we've seen in other countries around us. So I want you to give a message, a stern message of encouragement. 30 seconds, telling Kenyans why we don't need to head the direction we're headed. Because the standard is not good for us. That's your camera looking at you. 30 seconds.
So fellow Kenyans, what I can tell you is that when the state fails you, then you must take personal responsibility for your actions. No one is coming out of the country to kill anybody, to throw a stone, or to injure anyone, or destroy anybody's business. It is Kenyans by Kenyans, which means that it's in Kenyans' hand to do the right thing. Young people, stand down to anyone inciting you against anybody, because tomorrow you need that Kenyan. They are your neighbor. They actually borrow you salt. They borrow you sugar. You cannot borrow sugar from Raila's house. You cannot borrow sugar from Ruto's house, but you can borrow sugar or salt from your neighbor. Be your brother's keeper. Be a good Samaritan.
Thank you. Daktari, that's your camera.
Okay. To my fellow Kenyans, I will tell you this without mincing my words. Let's stop glorifying politicians. Because the problems you're going through is partly because of fakeless and hopeless leadership in this country that keeps on lying to you. Begin to interrogate leaders. That is the reason why you, with your wisdom, said, let's have a chapter called Leadership and Integrity. None of the politicians today that are misleading you, none of their children are on the streets. None of the children are dead. They are privileged. Tribalism, following people because of tribe, is ujinga. None of us wrote a letter to God or whoever your creator was to say, I want to be born a Turkana, a Luo, or a Kipsigis, or, you know. So let's think Kenya, not tribe.
Not tribe. And finally, Senator, that's your camera now.
To fellow Kenyans, let us condemn the demonstrations, let us condemn the attacks on private and public property, and to the youth, let us not be used. Do not accept to be used by the politicians over and over again to advance their political interest and personal interest. Let us come together once again as Kenyans and work towards achieving the vision that each and every one of us aspires to have. We can only do that when we come back to our senses, work hard to achieve that vision. Do not accept to be used anymore. Thank you.
Senator Sigei, thank you very much. Professor Ogola, thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Daktari Ekorokot, for coming. Need I belabor more? I mean, they've said it all tonight. We get another opportunity to do this, we shall do it. I'll invite the three gentlemen once again right on this table. My name is Ken Mijungo. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for lending us your ear and your time. Remember, we are Kenya, and Kenya is our business. Good night, and God bless.